Hello, I'm Oswald Mandus.
Und I'm Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa.
And we'll be doing something a bit different for today's review. You see, the player, Jamie Penrose, has fallen into a deep coma induced by, to quote from this slip of paper, the sheer ridiculousness of it all. It's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah, which is quite a shame.
Yes, so, what's happening today is me and Heinrich here will be doing a joint review in his stead.
Indeed, and I have so much to say.
Oh, you do you? Well, tell me, my dear fellow, what accent is that anyway?
This dear boy? Well, it's Cornelian, of course.
Oh, that's a silly answer and you're a silly person.
Yeah, it is, and I am.
Yes, so, no time to waste. Let's talk about Machine for Pigs.
Yeah, Machine for Pigs, the sequel to Amnesia, The Dark Descent. I must say, Oswald, I feel quite sorry for you.
Oh, yes? Why?
Well, because Amnesia was such a success, and you're going to be known as the guy from its shitty sequel, aren't you?
Hey, what? Shitty? I dispute that. I think my sequel is pretty damn good.
Yeah? Well, what do you think is good about it?
Well, it has a lot of complex themes, doesn't it?
Like what?
Well, like, capitalism and class-based structures are bad, and war is bad, and killing your children is probably not to be recommended either. Neither is using their hearts to power a machine that harvests pig farts to destroy the world.
Yeah, sounds a bit silly, doesn't it?
Oh, well, what was your game's moral, Don't torture people to death? Oh yes, the world really needed that.
But the difference is, my game was just a lovely, horrifying romp, whereas yours has a definite air of preachiness to it.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, not only as a blatant attempts across the board to one-up our game, but also there are constant references to what I am sure the writer thinks are big themes and ideas, such as the horrors of the 21st century, and the problems with our class-based capitalistic system.
Would you dispute that?
Nine, of course not. Our society is steeped in blood and irredeemably evil. I just don't think you can expect a golden star just for pointing that out these days.
Yeah?
Yeah, and especially not if you're just going to say, this is bad, and leave it at that. I mean, every tiresome Starbucks written fool with a blog does that these days. There needs to be more, and I don't think this game has it.
Well, no, because there's the whole theme of redemption, isn't there?
Yeah, not so much. I mean, let me get a handle on this. From what I could gather from playing the game, you were a very, very evil man. You killed children, the poor, the mentally ill, en masse, and in incredibly gruesome ways.
Yes, I did a bit.
Yeah, and at some point, somehow, you fell into some kind of sickness or something, and when you awoke, you decided this was bad. So you stopped the machine and prevented more bloodshed.
Yes.
That is not redemption.
It isn't?
Nine, think of it. If Hitler had done what he did and then decided, I'm not going to do this anymore, would he be a redeemed man? No, he would still be evil, and he would still deserve the wrath of hell.
Oh, well, you would bring up Hitler being German and all.
I'm not German. I'm an alien from another dimension, remember?
Yes.
Yeah, you cannot be redeemed. You are undeniably evil. Like, take Daniel. Now, I would argue that he is beyond redemption too, so I did grant him immortality for helping me out. Scratch my back, I scratch yours, etc. Anyway, he did what he did because he was desperate and more than a little selfish. You did what you did because you decided that man's life was not worth living. You played God. You were an evil God, Oswald.
Yes, well, just because I was evil doesn't mean my game was bad.
Nine, of course not. It was the pretentiousness that made it bad.
Hey!
Anyway, enough of this story. We have more to talk about. How was the game? How were the scares?
Yes, much better this time around, I think.
Not so much.
What? Oh, now you're just being biased, old man. My game was far more elegant in its building of atmosphere.
Yeah?
Yeah, the background ambience was far superior, replacing ghostly moans and unrealistic shadow vibration effects with sounds far more relatable. Breaths, footsteps, my bastard ghostly children. Background music was far more scarce, and that really helped. In Amnesia 1, the constant drone of background music diluted the other sounds. In my game, you could hear a pin drop. And our way for signaling danger was far better too. Your game had a very telegraphed monster growl followed by different background music, and you just hid, and then you could listen to the music to determine when you were safe. We went with a much more tasteful flickering of the lantern, and more often than not, dead silence, so you could hear every little monster shuffle. Far more effective for building tension.
You know, I agree with you.
You do?
Yeah, but unfortunately it was all ruined.
What do you mean?
Well, maybe some gamers can get into the atmosphere enough to stay scared, but those with any grip on reality quickly realized that your game holds almost no danger.
Oh?
Yeah, the monsters are very scarce, even more so than in my game, and when they do appear, it is impossible to die.
Balderdash, of course you can die.
Nine, you can't. The pigs will beat you up a little, yeah, but then you wake up in a cage or somewhere else, usually closer to the objective. If you ever get stuck in a dangerous room, usually letting yourself die is the best way to get out of that room.
Yes, well...
Even with the gank, they should eat you when they get you, but no. You wake up in a pit nearby the next location. Ridiculous.
Well, we don't want to make the game too frustrating.
Nine, not acceptable. I know the game was developed by the Chinese room, and I know they designed sightseeing tours, not games, but there has to be a real danger for the horror to mean anything.
I suppose we'll agree to disagree.
Yeah, we will. The bottom line is your game is a shallow parody of mine. You cut all the features that generated natural tension such as resource management and sanity, and you added your own artificial scares such as floaty tea straws and random seismic events. Your story was obtuse and utterly drenched in metaphor and purple prose. It is difficult to do this ridiculous accent. It's not even German, I'm going to know. No, I've got to stay in character, Heinrich. You may be an alien, but you have to do this. All I'm saying is they make no sense in this story. You know, the amnesia, the journal pages, it doesn't fit. They're only here so you can desperately pretend to be a sequel. And you never will be.
Oh, is that how it is? Well then, it's fisticuffs, old man. I'll knock your jaw off at... Oh, wait.
Ach, Dummkopf. I assented to omniscience at the end of my game, remember? Die!
Ah, oh no, you're turning me inside out. Oh, it's so gory.
There, he is dead again.
Surprise! I just respawned in a random cage. You thought that was the monster's doing? No, that was my power all along, motherfucker! And so, Oswald and Agrippa are doomed to battle for all eternity. But before we leave this review, here are some words from Jamie Penrose, before his untimely coma.
Hello. If anyone is hearing this, I don't have long left. Machine for pigs. It was too ridiculous. I don't have long left. I just need to point out a few of the inconsistencies, but I can barely scratch the surface. Okay, so here we go. Really, what was the reason for Mandus's journal pages being everywhere? There was no one to steal his journal and scatter the pages around. Did he do it himself? Is planting incriminating evidence all over the place what Victorians do for fun? And why does Mandus whip out his journal to note current events every 5 seconds? Even when in mortal danger? There's such a thing as keeping a thought for later. Precious eagle cactus fruit? What? How come this machine had a grasp of concepts such as nuclear fission? Concepts that didn't exist back in that time period. Was Mandus just, like, super smart? Was this magic or science? I mean, I guess it ran using an orb, and was made using part of his soul, but then it acts so much like it's grounded in some sort of reality. Would pigmen really be enough to take over the world? Really? Electro-pig? What's with all this warping from realities stuff? Is the multiverse just a concept that gives dull white writers a hard-on at the moment? What's with all the pigs that are just lying around dead and not really being used for anything? What's the point of them? Why was there a man pig in Oswald's house, just having a nap? What was that all about? Why does Mandus even have amnesia? Does he even have amnesia? He can remember an awful lot. How did Mandus ever get anyone to help him with this ridiculous plan? How did he not realize his kids were dead? I figured it out in like 2 seconds. Living children don't act that way. Not even Victorian ones. I'm sure there's more. But honestly, it would be easier for me to just point out the bits of the game that do make sense. There are so very few. I can feel myself slipping away. But before I go, I have a poem. Here it is. I met a Brit in an antique house who said, "A 4-poster bed with a built-in cage stands in the bedroom. Near them, in the hall, half seen, 2 ghostly figures play, whose cries and taunting calls and sneer of calling forth tell that their father writes on journals red, which yet remain shrouded in half-told things. The pigs that mocked him, and the thing they fed. And deep within the bowels the machine screeches. My name is Oswald Mandus, Brit of Brits. Look on my game, ye cowards, and despair. But nothing beside remains, round the cliched scares of this colossal wreck. Frightless and bare, the minds of bored gamers stretch far away."